Great. Got it. I am a complete idiot.
Oh, do you want that on there? It just said recording in progress. Do you want me to start it again?
There we go.
Okay. All right. So just, a little aside, it's taken Leah and I, pretty much me, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes to figure out how to do this Zoom. So
see Jill.
Yeah. So settle down and put your seatbelt on because we're just idiots. So we're so thrilled you're here. We know you, but just for our audience, I just want to give some of your highlights. You have played hundreds of characters in both animation and live action. You've been on all of the best television shows that were ever created, including Seinfeld, for sure. But
SpongeBob's a favorite in my house. My kids just love you, and they're so excited that I'm talking to you today. And they're in their late teens, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? That's who you're talking to." So they're so excited.
We still have an autograph from your husband that was given to my youngest.
Oh, that's so funny. We just recorded SpongeBob earlier today, so still going. 25th anniversary this year. So it's very
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
So
how many years?
25.
And you've been the voice of Karen, Plankton's sarcastic kind of computer wife, for 25 years.
So no, I'm trying to think of when Karen came on. I think she might have come on the second season. I should know this, but she wasn't. She wasn't.
That's right. That's right. But you've been on the Bernie Mac show and Drew Carey, Seinfeld, like I said, and Frasier, Third Rock from the Sun, Ellen, and the list just goes on and on.
And another favorite of mine is the Bob show.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Mr. Show.
Mr. Show. Yeah. That was a fun one.
That's really fun. So our kids got to watch SpongeBob and now Mr. Show. So
they're very different. Very different.
Very different. Yes.
Exactly. You know what? Us moms are not a monolith.
That's right. That's right.
We might want to say that her husband's Tom Kenny, who is the voice of SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So
which is so cool.
But let's talk about this, as you know, as empty nesters. And I have one who's flown the nest already. Leah has one that's sort of flown the nest already.
Living at home, but flown the nest.
Right. And one who's about to. So we are in a position that we have to, as so many moms around the world, reassess who we are if we're not mom first.
Right.
Because for our kids' sake, we have to take a back seat and be mom second and let them be adults first.
And you have two kids, right? You have a girl and a boy.
So I have a 26-year-old son who graduated college in 2020.
Okay.
He graduated in our kitchen because he had to come home from New York
early.
Oh, no. Yeah, it was sad.
Sad.
So he went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. He graduated in our kitchen. Now he lives in the neighborhood, like 10 minutes away, which is amazing, in an apartment.
Oh, you're so lucky. That's my dream.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And our daughter, who's 20, is a sophomore at DePaul in Chicago.
And what is she majoring in?
She's doing theater arts.
Oh,
so they do set design, acting, the whole shebang. A whole blend of stuff.
Our son and daughter did a movie together.
That's right. I'm waiting for that
film. Yeah.
That's amazing.
She's very talented.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
And they did improv classes together when they were tiny.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's where they met.
Yeah. I know. Connections continue.
So for you, let's just start with what the first one, the 25-year-old, when they flew the nest. How was that for you?
That was really hard, not gonna lie. I don't know if Kathy told you this story, but I booked our flights to move him.
Producer Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I booked our flights to move him into his dorm for freshman year for Tom and I to take him to New York. And I booked the flights, and right before travel day, I went online and I realized I was going to print the tickets or whatever, the boarding passes, and I realized, oh my gosh, I booked 3 people there and 3 people back. That's how much my brain didn't want to accept it. So
that was wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had to call, and up until then, I had been pretty cool about it. I'd been like, I'm doing great. And I called JetBlue to tell them that I accidentally booked 3 and 3. And when I started to tell the woman on the phone, I said, and I booked 3 back, and my son's not coming back. And I just lost it. I started crying. This woman was out of her depth. She's like, this is not a therapy line, but she was very
obviously
sweet.
not empty nester.
Exactly. So that's when it hit me for the first time. I think I realized, wait, he's not coming back. This is not a drill. It's really happening. He's leaving. And I've never, had that. And so it was rough. And then we dropped him off. I cried openly in the airport. It was embarrassing on the way home.
No, it's not embarrassing.
No,
Yeah. Same thing with mine.
Yeah. So
how was the hug goodbye?
I was holding it together, Tom. We took turns falling apart, I feel like. Like he kind of fell apart a little and I was kind of the strong one. And then he was the strong one and I was falling apart. So we sort of alternated. And then when we got home, I shut his bedroom door. I couldn't even look in there. Like looking at his empty bedroom really broke my heart. So it was hard. And it took me a little while. I went in October. So we dropped him in the end of August. I went in October for Parents Weekend. And when I saw how happy he was, and I just think I felt better. I kind of came home from that trip with a different attitude. And then they come home right away for Thanksgiving, and then they come home right away. So it's like, I think in your mind, you think, I'm not going to see him for a whole year, but it's not true. You do.
And New York's a great place to visit if you want to.
No kidding.
So
right.
Exactly.
Not a bad thing.
So, then it became like I kind of got used to it. Then you have that long break between Christmas and like summer or spring break. That one was a little rough. And then he came home, and that is to me the hardest part because they've had a taste of independence where no one knows what time they're coming home. No one knows who they're with. There's total independence. And he came home and he was going out with his friends. And when I was saying, well, what time are you coming home? His attitude was like, I have to tell you? And it's like, yes, you have to tell me. So it was a hard adjustment for both of us because he's had all this taste of independence. And I want to go right back to my kid before he left. He's a different person now in a way.
Well, but also when they're in because I have the 28-year-old, same story. By the way, I cried hugging him in the airport goodbye and like, sobbing. And he's like, oh, all right. Cried the whole way home, driving down the 405.
It's got to be hard for them though too, because they're like, look at what I'm doing. I'm spreading my wings, and it's like my mom is like sad about it. So it's got to be.
And you don't want to cry. You don't want to make them feel guilty.
No,
it's hard.
Of course not. Yeah,
well, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Oh, no. I remember my mom when I was leaving, like she was sobbing. I'm like, how dare you take this away from me? This is my moment. To shine. And I'm like, why is it about her?
Yeah.
Oh, you got the rest of the year to shine.
Well, when you're the kid, it's about you. And when you're the parent, it's about us. So
right.
Yeah.
But to say, talking about them coming home for a holiday or whatever, what I ended up just saying to my kid was, look, I understand and respect that you need to have your own space and do your own thing. But when you're in my house, I cannot, by the soul of me, not think about where are all of my ducks and are all of my chicks back in the nest. You just can't help it.
Right. But isn't it interesting how when they're away, so Mac is running around New York City and he's going, to parties and whatever he's doing. And it's kind of that out of sight, out of mind. It's like I wasn't thinking about him all the time, but or is he in a car? Is he in a train? Where is he? Chances are he's not in a car in New York.
But you had to disconnect, right? I mean, I think that's also survival mode for us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Out of sight.
When he came home, I'm constantly thinking about that, like especially the driving. And I have to say, the thing I love most about having both of my kids in cities that have public transportation is the driving scares me. It terrifies me.
Well, we live in Los Angeles, so
it's
very
craziness.
different here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And how was your younger one when he went off?
So Nora left. So they're 6 years apart.
Oh, so he's the older.
He's the older. Yeah.
So how was your younger one when he went off?
How was she? Thank you.
Yes.
When he went off. Yeah. When he left.
She was sad. She was sad. I have this. She cried really hard at the airport. I have this beautiful photo of them.
Does she not want to go with you? Does she not want to drop him off?
She was in school. I feel like she was in school or something was going on with her, but she did not go with us.
I didn't know if she made a choice not to go with you or whether it was just.
No, she couldn't for some reason. And I can't remember what it was. But she did. somebody drove us to the airport. I can't remember who it was. And she got out of the car, and I have a photo of them hugging. And it's like they're one person. It's just such a beautiful photo. And I think it was hard for him to leave her too, you know?
Yeah.
But she was sad. She was sad. She got over it pretty quick.
Well, they're
got
great
spread out a little bit.
They're resilient.
How hard for him? So he graduated in 2020.
Yeah. That was really hard, and it was extra hard because of the logistics of it, because he came, you know, like all of us did in the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know how long it was going to last. Sure. And he had this apartment, and we made this is the other difference between my two kids. We made our son stay in a dorm for 3 years. But
it's also New York, right?
It's New York, right? So it was a good deal. And I think a lot of kids stayed in dorms a little longer because it was New York. But finally he got an apartment with 2 friends, and we furnished the apartment in August with brand new IKEA. You know, it was IKEA, but still, you know, the whole apartment furnished. And that was in the fall. And then in March, when the pandemic hit, Tom called him up and said, you have to come home. You have to get on a plane. You have to come home. And so he came home, but he left all of his stuff. I mean, he didn't think it was going to be for that long. We didn't know how long it was going to be.
Right.
Nobody knew.
And then his lease was up. He graduated and his lease was up while still the pandemic was in, you know, and the landlord of the building said, you have to get everything out. You're going to lose your security deposit. You're going to, you know, all your stuff. So I was trying from LA to find somebody to pack up his stuff. And it was crazy because all my New York friends were like, Jill, no one's leaving their apartment. Like no one is going anywhere. I couldn't get a charity to go. So I finally had TaskRabbit. I found someone from TaskRabbit to disassemble everything, put it in like
luckily it was IKEA.
Right. And drive it to my friend had a place in Woodstock, New York, because they were going to put it in a landfill. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't. It makes me sick. So I had it delivered to Woodstock, which probably cost more than all of the IKEA furniture. But because I knew someone there, and I said to her, hold on to it and have a garage sale or sell it eventually. Do whatever you want. Give it to people. But for now, I don't want it in a landfill. I have to have a place for it. So it was a lot of logistics. But
wow. And then he just did he ever go back to school? That was it, huh?
That was it. Yeah, so we graduated, and we did do one thing. We had booked a restaurant in New York for like all of his best friends and their parents, and we were going to do a graduation dinner. Right. And obviously it couldn't happen. And the restaurant shut down during the pandemic, and they called us up and said, do you want your deposit back? And I said, hold on to it. We'll do this. We're going to do this. Will motivate us. We're going to do this. Right. And we did it. I think it was like a year and a half later or something. And I think it was so much better. It was so beautiful. Like everybody was crying. The kids were crying. The parents were crying because they'd been through this thing together. And we went around the table and everybody said a few words about what it was like for them. And it was therapeutic for these kids to be able to talk about how difficult that was to have this special thing yanked out from under you.
Definitely. Yeah. Our kids were in 8th grade together. We have kids that are the same age, and that was their graduation year for 8th grade.
We did it in the car.
Yeah, we just drove by, and someone had a little grabber and gave them their diploma.
Grabber.
Drove by, they jumped out of the car. There were some balloons. You took a family photo while the car was running. You did a selfie. And you just took off.
That was it. But it was supposed to be this. The thing about the school where they went is it was supposed to be such a special thing for the 8th grade, and
they didn't have speeches. They didn't get a senior 8th grade trip.
No, nothing. It was crazy.
I told my son, because he was really sad about it, but I said to him, Mac, honestly, as bad as it is, I feel like the high school kids got the worst of it. Because when you think about high school graduation, they get prom, night, all their, they have a lot of things. And you're going to have those things. You had a graduation and probably a grad night party kind of thing in 8th grade, and you'll probably have something in college.
But high school
is really, I don't know, it just felt so, and he kind of agreed. He had all that stuff in high school, and he took it pretty well, so.
Every single thing I have that says, congratulations, graduating 2020, like shirts and mugs, find anything without toilet paper on it. So everything I have, from like sippy cups to mugs, has like toilet paper. That's what they were selling, and everyone was looking for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy.
Crazy.
And so how was it for you when you were so far away and this once in a generation pandemic happens?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was scary. I mean, I was in Chicago at the time, because I had a friend in Chicago who was dying, and so I went to go say goodbye to that person in the hospital. I was in a hospital like in March during the pandemic.
Gosh.
Okay, with no mask because we didn't know.
No.
But anyway, yeah. So I was in Chicago. Tom was in LA. Mac was in New York, and Tom told Mac, you have to come home. You have to come home right now. You got to get on a plane. Because we were getting scared because we were hearing news reports about how there weren't going to be flights or they might shut down airports.
Right.
And Mac was kind of like, oh, Dad, it's fine. It's not that big of a, you know how.
Of course.
Right. And he was insistent that he come home. And
Smart.
Yeah, one roommate stayed and waited and stayed in New York by himself in that apartment.
Wow.
And that's the kid who packed up everybody's personal belongings in boxes and mailed them back from TaskRabbit. Wow. And I told him, I said, oh, pay your rent for, I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to send you food delivered. I'm going to do whatever. I had boxes mailed to him because he did that for the other roommates. It was pretty awesome to have him there. Thank God. Because I don't know what would have happened. I don't know who would have packed up, I guess, TaskRabbit, but to have your friend go through, and he did it by Zoom. He literally took his phone around the apartment and said, do you want this? That's how it was packed.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy.
Well, so now your daughter obviously had a way different scenario than that. So how was Nora graduating? Because now you are a bona fide empty nester.
And we're boy moms, so you've got one feet. So we know now. So
it's really different with a girl anyway, I feel like, just in general. But it was a little easier because I know that they come back. They come back, and you're going to see them and everything. And Nora went to Chicago, which is where my family is. They're all there. And that
we grew
really
up that far from each other, Jill and I. We're Southside Chicago girls. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And there's something about having your family in town, even though she doesn't really see them ever. But I think the pandemic really shed a light on that, like how important that is. Because in a crisis, you have friends there, and that's great. And all of our friends came through for Mac at one point or another when he needed it. But having your family there, it's just so, it's a relief,
Yeah.
Well,
so that made it easier.
That's great. Since we're about to be new empty nesters, at least for me, second time. I've got one still living at home, and I'm so thankful. My older one and my younger one, our younger ones are about ready to go. Do you have any advice for us?
I will say, I think something that I learned from Mac, because Mac got really sick at one point in New York, and he called me up and he said, Mom, I don't feel well. And I said, well, there's a clinic across the street. And he said, no, I can't get up. I can't.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I don't know. I'm really dizzy. I can't stand. So I was like, we have to call 911. And of course your brain goes right to, did you take drugs? Yeah. He was super calm. I was like, who knows? He had gotten the norovirus, and he didn't take care of himself. He didn't drink any liquids. So he got so dehydrated that he was just like fainting kind of thing. So anyway, I did learn a lesson that you have to get everybody's phone numbers. You have to get the roommates' phone numbers. You have to get their parents' phone numbers. Yep. And I think you take it for granted that they're going to know, like, oh, if I get really a stomach bug and I get really sick, I need to hydrate. Like, they don't know that stuff. Yeah. Especially boys. So I feel like, and they don't want to listen to that stuff anyway when you're trying to give them advice, like, Mom, but in that moment, so he gets taken to a hospital. Now, I'd sent him to school with, these are copies of your insurance cards, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't look at what hospitals have what are the best hospitals. I didn't look at that. He went in an ambulance, and they took him to kind of a crappy hospital. And while he was in the hospital, I didn't have any rights to find out how he was because he was an adult. But he was conscious. So I called his cell phone and he handed the phone to the doctor. And in front of me, like while I was on the phone, he gave permission for the doctor to talk to me. And right after that, I did that mama bear thing where you have
mama bear.
Yes, I have to do that.
Very important. Yeah.
It's so, it really is important because, you have, some things are going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
We'll try to put a link to Mama Bear on this podcast so that people, because that's vital.
No, that's fair. And I've been making a list, and this is going to my list of like getting everyone's number. I really do. I've been making a list for myself, and I'm going to send it to my child as well when he goes to school of, these are things you might think, Mom didn't tell me this, or I don't remember what she said, because they don't listen to us all the time, but at least there'll be like a little list of him to say, oh, wait a minute, I need to know. So it'll help him as well.
And I still have Harrison, that's my older one. I still have his friends from college's numbers in my phone.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Because, I mean.
Yeah, so Mac's roommate, Carlos, who I adore this kid so much, I called Carlos and said, Carlos, Mac is in the hospital and he's got this virus or whatever. He's dehydrated. And when he comes home, he's going to have to rest. And could you pick up Gatorade and blah, blah, blah. I told him what to get. Like, these are the kinds of foods that he should be having right now. And he went and did it. And it's like, but they don't know that. Like, they won't know, especially boys with boy roommates. No one's going to go, let me take care of you.
They need to keep the smell out of the room.
Exactly. Kathy just said that we should do an emergency contact list, which I think is really important.
Yes.
That's
very important.
Relatives in other states, because when I was in New York and I couldn't during 9/11 and I couldn't reach my parents in California, but I could call my uncle in Massachusetts.
Right.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
And I made a little toolbox. I gave them actually out to some of Mac's friends too, but I made like a little toolbox and I put in that toolbox Advil and Tylenol and NyQuil and allergy medication, condoms, tampons.
Very important, especially these days.
No,
exactly. Just like all kinds of emergency things, flashlights and batteries and just first aid kit and all that kind of stuff, just so they have it because they're not going to think to go get that stuff.
Okay, so now I want to get, before we have to say goodbye to you, I want to make sure that we ask you some other more fun question as well. So now that you've
helped us.
Yes.
So thank you for all your advice and help.
Now that you're a bona fide empty nester, what is the best part about being alone in a house with your husband, and what is the most challenging part?
Well, he's been gone a lot. He's been working a lot, but sometimes I felt like in the beginning it was almost like we were on a first date again. There was an awkwardness of like a quietness in the house, and you sense that, it's just like, so what are we doing tonight? Whatever, I'm whatever you want to do. It was
you can have sex anytime you want. You're like, it's not as fun this way.
And I was super involved in my daughter's school. That's the other thing. My daughter was involved in drama in high school, and I was like one of those moms that helped out a lot. So I had, that went away too. A little bit. Kathy knows. I still volunteered afterwards. So pathetic. But anyway, and the fun stuff, I feel like with Nora, I'm more of obviously, I'm a real true empty nester now. We signed up for classes. I'm doing dance classes. I'm going to do pickleball classes. I've started water aerobics. I'm kind of doing
put us on the list.
Yes. I'm doing more things for me. Like I'm putting my, you don't put yourself first as a mother. You know what I mean? You just don't. You certainly don't put your health care. It's like all the thing, on the list of things, your stuff is down here. I'm trying to get all my doctor appointments done. I'm doing things like that. Like I'm actually going, I should take care of me a little bit. So
I think that is so great.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you guys have been alone, what would you say each other's most annoying trait is?
My husband.
We're to keep families together.
This is right. And my friend told me that her husband did this too when her kids went to college. So I don't know if it's a common thing, but narrates his day. So he'll walk in the room and go, so I'm going to take a shower and then I'm I would check emails. And you're kind of like, do I need to know? So that sort of thing. But it's almost like when you look at it, if you try to look at it from a different perspective, it's like a loneliness. They're lonely too. And I feel like it hits them more because women are so social and we're so good at reaching out to our friends. It's just how we are. Yeah. Especially when our kids go to college. We're there for each other. Like, your friends. Oh, their kid just went to college. How are you doing? Like, we'll ask, we'll look at it.
Right.
But I don't know that guys do that, and so
We've been prepping for it. I feel like I've been prepping for it. Like, I feel like I really have been ever since 8th grade. I'm just like, it's coming.
Yeah.
What can I do? What to do the next step? And I feel like dads just don't think like that. My husband's just in the moment, and then it's like, what? They're on. What happened? And I'm like, no, are you kidding? You weren't here with me when this was happening. So
yeah.
When you bring it up, they're like, oh, it'll be fine. Like we talked about that a minute ago. But yeah,
I think it hits them, and I think it's hard because they also might be pretending that it doesn't hit them as much, just being a guy, So
for sure.
It'll be interesting to see how my husband handles it because he's the stepfather of both of my boys. His boys are older, and so they're already out. But my boys are really close to him. So my older one's already out of the house, but my younger one is very close to him. So I'm interested to see how he...
Yeah, it could hit him even harder. I mean, my mom had 6 kids, and so,
Will you just say that again, only because we had a thing come up on the computer, and I want to make sure it doesn't...
My mom had 6 kids, and when the youngest one, moves out, it's like, oh, but not you. You're the little, like you're my last one. That's the other thing too. The last one, and it's the last one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a different era,
Since mine was a baby, everything was a last moment. The last time I'm ever going to nurse, the last time I'm going to be pregnant, and on and on and on. Yeah. So we talk all the time about some of our epic parent fails. So do you have one that for both of or one of your kids that
epic parent fail? Oh, I did one time. Oh yeah, this was bad. It was the summer. This was the summer that Matt came home from college, and he was going out with his friends to a party. And I said, you had to be home by 2:00 in the morning. I thought that was pretty good, right? I'm like, 2:00 in the morning, you must be home. And he's like, okay, fine, no problem. So I go to bed and I'm reading a book and I'm thinking I'm going to stay awake till I hear the front. We have kind of a creaky front door. When I hear the door and I hear him come in, I'll go to sleep. But I fell asleep, which is unusual. I fell asleep and then I woke up and I looked at my phone and it was after 2. It was like 2:30 and Tom's asleep next to me and I'm going, Mac never came home. I didn't hear the door. He never came home. Right. So I instantly text him. I don't hear back. And then I panic and I text his friends. I text all of his friends, like, where are you guys? Your Mac was
kids will never give us their kids' phone number.
So I text his friends, I text him. Then I hear sirens. I'm not kidding, you guys. I hear sirens and it's right nearby. It's like 2 blocks away. And I'm going, oh my God. So here's my mind. He's not answering. The friends aren't answering. There's sirens 2 blocks away. I put my shoes on. I go walking to where the sirens are. There's a fire in the neighborhood 2 blocks away. I come walking back. Tom goes, he's sitting up in bed. He goes, what the hell? What's going on? And I said, Mac's not home. I heard sirens. He said, what do you mean Mac's not home? He came home right before 2. He's in bed. And I'm like, In the morning, Mac wakes up and I go, just so you know, I might have texted your friends at 2 a.m. He was like, Mom. So that was a fail that I leapt to this conclusion instead of giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I don't see it as a fail. I'm sorry. I think that's just good parenting, but
I would have done the same thing. I would have walked outside because in my brain, that siren would have been for my kid.
1,000%.
I know.
Yeah, I get it.
Citizens app. I check Citizens app. Like when my kid's not home, I'm like, quick look at Citizens app. Is there anything in the neighborhood? Which is so gross. What an awful thing to do for your mind to do that. But I do that.
I know. We've all been there.
We've all been. It's because of her that I have 360. So I can see where they are. And my son doesn't. My older one doesn't know, but he's on it too.
Right.
He's 28.
That's my entertainment bed while my kids are out. I'm just like, my husband's sound asleep and I'm just watching this. Gosh, you got from Hollywood to
right now.
Yeah, see, exactly.
I actually wish my 26-year-old would let me I should ask him, let me follow you. Because, I go days without talking to him now. He's in an apartment with his girlfriend. He has his own life. And it's like, but sometimes if I don't talk to him for a few days, I just want to see a little dot moving. I don't even have to talk to you. I just want to see.
Have him drop a ping on I don't know if it's on his phone. He can drop
on my phone or
yeah. And that way he'll forget about it, because that's how I follow my other one. He's forgotten that he did a Find My Phone.
I have to try to get my kids to let me do that, because I haven't.
Yeah.
I also turn it around and say, I want you to know where I am, because if something happens to me, I want you following me. Oh, and I'll follow you too. Just,
Exactly. Nora did say that because they all take the trains and stuff in Chicago, that all of her friends follow each other on something.
Yes,
I don't know,
should.
like Friends or Find Friends or something.
Yeah.
She said when they leave, like a party, they all keep an eye on each other and make sure each other gets home. So that
has to make you feel so happy to know that the girls they're on it.
The girls are on it.
The girls, boys aren't on it.
I know. Remember.
The girls even make sure the boys get home.
They're not. Yeah.
It's a different kind of on.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been so much fun talking to you.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
So much.
I wish you the best. So your kids are both going this fall?
Yeah. Yep. Our last semester of senior year.
Just really enjoy every moment, because it's pretty, it goes by so quick though.
In a blink of an eye.
I know.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye.
Oh,
well,
good luck to you.
Thank you
so much.
And I hope it's only a blink of an eye until we see you again.
Yes.
I hope so too. That was super fun.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.